this, as in other areas, there is no monopoly of wisdom. The purpose of the process is to ensure that by the end of it, by the time we get to December 2014, we will have enacted through the Oireachtas the best possible piece of legislation, that it addresses all of the issues that have for too long been ignored, and it is truly a piece of legislation that is acknowledged to be in the best interests of children. As I said at the beginning of my speech, I anticipate we will have much debate over the next period on the nature of the family and on the reforms that are being proposed. Some commentary on families seeks to hark back to a traditional family which must be protected against all other family types which are seen apparently as a threat. It posits the myth that the nuclear family of married parents and their children is the only traditional family. This view, of course, is not borne out by history. In many senses, the universality of the nuclear family as the only family type is a creation of American advertising of the post-war era. You can always blame the USA. 100 years ago, children would routinely have been living in families that included parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, feature of rural Ireland. Some would have been reared by grandparents or by aunts and uncles. Children were often sent to childless relatives to be reared when families thought they had too many children and they were anxious to assist immediate relations in having some. The children were often reared in non-traditional families is reflected in the popular culture of the past 150 years, which abounds in stories of children growing up successfully in such families. So Anne of Green Gables flourished in the late 19th century in Canada when rescued by the middle-aged siblings, Marilla and Matthew. Similarly, for those of you who haven't noticed it, in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's endless quest was to get home, not to the nuclear family, but rather to her granddad. I will share with you that I was taken to see The Wizard of Oz as I think a 6-year-old by my parents, and scared to be Jesus. My recollection is I never saw the end. They had to take me out. This day I've never seen the end. I think I suffered deep psychological trauma. I suspect if it ever appeared on my television screen, I'd run out screaming still. What mattered then, and what matters now, is that children should be cherished and nurtured, that there should be certainty in the law relating to parentage. We all share that common objective. We each can play our part in contributing to that objective. My role is to develop legislative proposals for reform of family law. Some may highlight problems that remain to be addressed, yet others will provide the concrete evidence on which policies can be developed. The process of change, I know, will be difficult. I know there well may be some aspects of the scheme of the legislation to be published which will give rise to controversy. I certainly hope it gives rise to constructive, insightful debate, because I think that is of great importance. So there will be controversies on the road ahead. Some of you might have noticed I don't spend too much of my life ducking controversy. Not everyone will agree on what's in the draft bill. Some of you here may look at some aspects of it and wonder why have we dealt with an issue in a particular way. That's what makes this process so important. Feedback, so we get it right. I'm confident that we will achieve an outcome that will provide legal certainty, protection and security for more parents, including LGBT parents, and protection and security for more children. We will, I hope, by the end of this year, have a modern legal architecture in this area of which we can be proud, which will, I hope, provide an important beacon and precedent for other countries. We have, in preparing this legislation, looked at legislation currently in place across the globe. We have looked at what works. We have looked at what doesn't work. We have, I hope, in its preparation, extracted the good from that legislation and provided our own indelible Irish imprint on problem solving in some areas. And I very much look forward to it being published. I hope we're going to see it published, as I said, very shortly. I look forward to the reaction to it, and I hope all of you here will read it carefully. Don't be inhibited in suggesting things that should be done to improve it. Don't be inhibited if you identify some issue it fails to address in saying so. And don't be upset by anything in it, because this is the largest piece of legislation ever published in the history of the state on the guardianship, custody and access of children and addressing issues of parentage. Issues that parentage never previously addressed in our legislation are addressed in this bill. And it provides a direct connectivity in the bill for LGBT parents between the 2010 Act and the provisions contained in this bill. Because another objective of the bill is to ensure that where relationships do break down and people do get into difficulties and there are children and there are issues of finance and property to be resolved, they don't have to issue a multiplicity of different court applications, and all issues in dispute can be resolved, if necessary by the courts. But in conclusion, I say also the bill seeks to encourage, where there are such disputes, resolution by agreement through the use of mediation, seeks, where possible, to encourage people not to do battle in a court context where it isn't truly necessary to do so. So thank you very much.